Hey everybody, Ian from Novel Music here, and in this video we're going to take a look at Relay, which is a device that acts as a MIDI note switcher or distributor that allows you to create very interesting and complex orchestrations in real time. So let's take a look at it. Relay is a simple looking device, but it has quite a few powerful features. So to explain, over here you're looking at a series of columns. Depending how high the column is compared with the others, the output will favor that port. So we have 4 columns and 4 ports. The default assignment is output A, B, C, and D. Now in this live set, I've got 4 tracks here: a strings track, which is receiving on A, a winds track on B, a brass track on C, and a percussion on D. Now the percussion track is actually a little more complicated because from there I split the signal again, signal meaning stream of MIDI notes, using another instance of Relay, and from there it branches out into 4 separate instruments: harp, marimba, glock, and celesta. So anytime that this first copy of Relay outputs MIDI notes to the 4th column here, the 4th lane, which is output D, it's received over here through this hub device, output into this Relay, and from there it's split again. And you see the assignment ports I've done manually. I've changed it to HIJK, which is what's being received here in this instrument rack that has 4 chains. I'm using this arpeggiator just to keep the notes going. I've got it set to 16th note speed at a 50% gate. The samples I've chosen, now you can use this with any sounds that you want. Anything that can accept MIDI will work with this device. I've chosen an orchestral library of different choirs in the orchestra, and they're all these staccato samples just for the purpose of this demonstration. Now, if I have it also running through the device itself to a piano. I'm going to turn that off for now, so turn through off, and you can hear we're almost only hearing percussion. Now if I only really wanted to hear the 4th column, 4th lane, without anything else, I can actually toggle these off. So now I only will hear this. Let's go ahead and introduce the brass. And let's introduce the winds. You can see that whatever's the highest out of these, what has the maximum value out of the 3 sliders here in this case, is going to be favored the most by the stochastic algorithm. Let's add the strings. So now we have everything. In addition to controlling the weights and probability of which port will be triggered, we can change the transposition in octaves. So in this case I wanted the strings and winds to sound an octave higher, so I've put it up 12 semitones. And we can actually delay the output either by tempo relative value all the way to a whole note, the smallest value being a 32nd note. I'm going to do this as the 8th note. Or we have the mode of the time mode here, which is in milliseconds. So this is if you want something perhaps to somewhat humanize whatever texture you have building, then you may choose this millisecond value just to get it slightly shifted. I'm going to go back to the sync mode. And then for the octave mode, I should mention that we also can do it in semitones, not just only in octaves, in case you want to transpose something at a constant pitch offset. Back to the octave setting. Now through, we already went through, this allows MIDI notes to pass through the device. I'm going to do that and turn on this instance of deviate. I'm just using this to well, to keep it from sounding so monotonous. So all the notes that pass through the arpeggiator are going to this piano, but now I've set the trigger to 50%, so I'm only going to hear 50% of those notes. I've got it set up so that there's some delay, the velocities change, sometimes the duration gets extended by 1 second. I've got the octave set in a bipolar deviation, so it could be an octave higher or lower. That's just to kind of keep it a little more interesting. I guess what I'm trying to go for here is some kind of piano concerto. So I've got the piano always playing, but I want the orchestra to sort of fill in here and there based on what I'm playing on the keyboard here. So now that we've got that going, let's go ahead and reduce the amount of triggers here with relay. So if I set this to, let's do like 60%. Now only 60% of the incoming MIDI notes are going to be distributed to these different ports throughout the live set. So this reduces the density of what we're hearing. I think it's time to add some more notes to what we're doing. Okay. Another setting that we have is called group. And with this chance-based parameter, instead of a MIDI note being assigned to one output port at a time, it actually sends it to all of the ports. And we can actually offset this by an octave above, actually up to 4 octaves above or below. Let's do an octave above, and then here's where we can choose which of the ports are going to be active in the group. So let's, if we decide, oh, we don't want to have the brass and percussion, now it's only just the winds and strings. I'm going to put it back to having everybody. And so this is useful if you're wanting to really build the texture. This is all, by the way, you can map this. All these parameters could be mapped, automated, or modulated within Live. So let's say you want this to build. Now it's 100% group. All the notes are going to all 4 ports. I'm going to bring it down. Now this is a bit random in the way that it's working, obviously, because it's different every time. But if you want something more regular, then we have over here this memory buffer and a lock. And this is something you'll find on several of our devices. The way that it works is, let's add a 6-note chord here. Okay, I played 6 notes. The arpeggiator is arpeggiating up. I'm going to change the memory buffer to be 6. And I'm going to go ahead and lock this. Notice that now it's the same orchestration or the same distribution of those notes every time. Those 6 different notes that the arpeggiator is spitting out. If I start to bring the lock down, now it changes a little bit. And if I like that, I'll lock it again. And now it's back to being locked and not changing. So this lock, as you can see, is a continuum. Goes from being completely new random values being assigned every time a new note comes in, to less and less new random values allowed, where it maintains the previous random value, and then when we get all the way to the right, no new values are assigned, and we stick with whatever's in the memory buffer. This goes up to all the way up to 128, so you can have quite a long, elaborate patterns with this. Also, the trigger function, the way that triggers are imprinted in the memory, it can be locked as well. One last mode to look at here is the fixed tab. So instead of using these weights, in fixed mode, we run through a specific order based on this control here. So forward, backward, forward and backward, and random. The other thing here is the repeats. I've got it set to 4 right now. Let's set it to 1. When it's set to 1, each step is visited once. When it's set to 2, let's put it in play mode here. Each port is triggered twice before it moves on. 3 times, so on and so forth, up to 16 repeats. So if you're looking for a more predictable order of how the notes will be distributed across the different ports in your live set, then this would be the mode that may work better for you. I'm going to go ahead and put the sync offset to turn that off for the brass. I'll put the trigger all the way up to 100%. Yeah. Well, those are the basics of how to use Relay. I hope that you'll enjoy using it. I find it fun to have this real-time orchestration device that I can control the density with through a series of sliders. Please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm going to continue making content about the Seeds collection and the things you can do with it. And please stay tuned for the next video. Thank you.